Okay, kids, welcome back to 396 Guitars. We have the Ibanez Screamin' 80s JEM back, JEM, call it whatever you want. We're doing the second installment on this. Now, we left off with intonation. It takes so much time to do it. It's not like just driving a screw in. You got to loosen a string. I'm going to show you how to do it. And then you pull the saddle back. But let's get to work. Steve Vai called, said he wants his goddamn guitar back. I had to say it. Intonation. I left one to show you how we're going to do it. These are still the mock-up strings. Before we get into that, I just wanted to check it. The guitar's been sitting overnight. So I just wanted to check tuning stability. Dead on, dead on, dead on. This guitar is very stable, and I'm pleased to see that. We're not finished with it because we have to take these strings off. I didn't want to sacrifice the customer's new strings, and these are better strings. They're coated, and they're just better strings. There's nothing wrong with the Ernie balls that we put on there. Everybody uses them. They're the most common string on the planet. But that was his choice. But I didn't want to sacrifice those until I knew what this girl was going to do. And I'm very pleased to see that it's stable. Overnight, you guys did it with me. I came in, checked it, checked the tuning, and did a little dive bomb on the whammy bar, and it is stable. So nines. So technically speaking, we should be able to knock these strings off, put those strings on, get the strings to stretch a little bit and set overnight, and it should be perfectly stable. Everything else is we got to put the locking nut, the lockers up on here. And the only other thing that I was a little concerned about when I was taking it apart is whenever you have a locking nut, or usually you have a little stop bar that goes in there like thus, and it ensures correct break angle down over the nut. The screws that were coming out, when I got it, the screws were driven all the way down, no strings on the guitar. And this was sitting buried all the way down tight on the headstock. So I have to make sure that we can get it set at the proper height where we have good break angle, and that the screws are going to hold it in there and not pull out. If they're going to pull out, we have to fill the holes. That's a different job. Fill the holes and re-drill it, but not the end of the world. I'm hoping we don't have to do that because I'd really like to deliver the guitar back to him tomorrow. When I de-string it this time, I'm gonna polish up the frets a little bit. He washed the guitar and cleaned it up a lot. He said it was gacked, but that's the time to do it. I want to clean up the frets, just do my thing on it, get a little oil on the board, because I don't think he did. It doesn't sound like it. If he did, no big deal. I'm going to put my oil on it. So I digress. That kind of catches you up where we're at. So yeah, we're basically going to de-string it and do all that again. But there was a reason and a method to my madness, because when I got the guitar, there were no strings. The thing was just kind of dangling, and when I put strings on it, sure enough, the bridge was like just jammed all the way up like an Evel Knievel ramp, ready to accept a motorcycle jumping over cars. So yeah, I'm going to pause while I get these strings off. I'm going to put those strings on because I showed you how to do that in the last video. When I get back, they're going to have the new strings on, and I'm going to show you how to set the intonation, which I did at the end of the last video off camera. But I want to show you how it is done. On a Fender, you just, you drive a screw in or out in the back of the bridge, but not on this one. It's a little bit more complex, but not much. It's fun. Stand by. Okay, so we're back, and I know the sound is a little bit wonky. I'm still working with cameras, new cameras and different sound. Um, got new strings on. We did have to adjust the spring tension in the back. These strings, even though they're still 9 gauge, are a little bit different. But we are dead on. And we are stable. So I saved the high E to show you intonation. First thing you do is tune the string to pitch, and then you check 12th fret harmonic, and it's slightly sharp. So you got to loosen the string and get it out of the way a little bit, because right there is where we got to get to. And it is, I believe, is it no, it's a 2, not a 2.5, you dummy. You loosen the saddle and pull it back, because if we're sharp, that means the distance between the saddle and the nut slot is too short. We have to lengthen it. That's intonation. I already did E, A, D, G, and B. High E was the last one. So you loosen the string just so you can, because the bolt is right underneath the string. Okay, over-engineered stuff. I'm not a fan of Floyd Rose, but when you get them set, they're bulletproof. But to adjust intonation, you have to loosen the string, loosen the bolt, grab a hold back here. This is the bolt that actually tightens the string into the saddle block, and yank it back and then tighten it down with the other hand. You have to be an octopus to do it. Then you tune your string back up to pitch, which in this case is the high E. Off camera yesterday, it took me about 45 minutes to set the intonation on the first 5, or the last 5 strings. Tune to pitch, check your harmonic, perfect, and then check at the 12th fret. Dead on. It needed to be pulled back, which lengthens that distance, right? You follow? Yeah, it's a little bit tricky. It's different than say a Fender Stratocaster or whatever, and that's what this guitar was modeled after. But they over-engineered all of this shenanigans down here. Good stuff. I don't like it, but that's because I'm a guitar tech, and it takes me 3 times as long to get a Floyd Rose type bridge and saddle assembly and whammy floating bridge to settle than it does a Fender. So Leo Fender had it right. Sorry to say, guys, everybody loves this stuff, but I shouldn't say everybody, because I certainly don't. As a guitar tech, I don't dig them. I never have. I think they're over-engineered. So, yeah, we're tuned to pitch. You just watched it. I dove it a little bit and check all the tuning. We look, and just like on a Fender, you can only have so much space back here. You want your saddles right here, which is, let me see if I can illustrate this. Your saddles are right here. You want that level with the body of the guitar. Forget about this thing right here. That's beauty. That's bulk in the bridge. And that will throw a lot of people off, because that thing kind of goes up. It's the saddles that have to be level with the body. And if you get that, and then you find your strings and your springs get equilibrium, you're fine. You're totally good there. All right, but if you sight down this and your saddles are tilted up or pulling into the cavity, that's a good example of go home and try it again. So far, I'm pretty pleased. Everything, these are brand new strings again. They have not settled. They're still trying to stretch, but they seem pretty close. I'm gonna do just a quickie and see if it stays. I'm sure it will. Yep, see, something fell up, or it could be the bar was holding it down. I should be sitting in the prone position with it in my lap. I did that off camera and tested it. It's fine. I think this thing was kind of hitting the table and throwing that off tune. Yeah, it's dead on. Yep, we're good. So next, we're going to have to loosen all of the strings because we still have to put this guy in there, which is that one and these two screws, the longer screws. Am I going to check the neck relief and the string height again? Yes, I am, but I want to put the bar, the string bar back on the headstock. You have to loosen all of the strings, which is, in this case, counterintuitive because I just got it stable and liking to play where it is. But this has to be put back in, and so do the locks, the nut locks, the locking nut, which is these guys. Yeah. And when you look at these things, they kind of go like a tent. And you want the peak to line up with the strings. I get it all the time. Guys bring them in and go, I don't understand, because the peak is going this way. And when I set up one of these, especially as much as I've done on this one, I leave these loose and I tell the customer, the player, whomever it is that the guitar belongs to, leave them loose for the first couple of weeks. Do not do your fine-tuning adjustment here. Do it up here as if it were a Fender Stratocaster. After a couple of weeks, when it becomes completely stable, you can snug down your strings up here and lock them on the nut and then use your fine-tuners. I set all of the fine-tuners in the middle. So they're not all the way up, they're not all the way down, they're in the middle because, yeah, you need to be able to go up and down. Right? You follow? And that's why I leave them loose. I can't tell you how many guys. Yeah, I could tighten them down, and I'm pretty confident that when the guitar leaves my shop, yeah, I can lock them down and you'll have enough. But strings will continue to stretch, and I can't stand by strings. I don't know how long it'll take a particular set of strings to, well, do their thing and stretch all the way. I didn't manufacture the strings. I set the guitar up. So all you have to do is drive these down until they catch the strings and ensure a break angle over the nut down towards the tuning pegs. Now, an Ibanez has a natural break angle on the headstock, just like a Gibson, as it were, not like a Fender that's almost flat and perpendicular to the board, the neck. But this ensures the idea is even more stability. And you kind of guess at it. All you got to do is look at it. You don't want to go too far and you don't want to be too high. And I'm I'm confident that the screws caught enough wood. They're pretty long screws. So we're going to leave that like that. We're going to tune it back up. Get it close and then really tune it. Yeah, it's a lot of work, especially when you get a guitar like this that you just don't know because everything is off of it. And the owner of this guitar, the backstory is, and I said a little bit of it in the first video, he saw an opportunity to buy a used guitar. Somebody was selling this guitar and they didn't really know what they had. Not that he ripped them off, but they wanted a certain number, and yeah, they came to an agreement, and he got a good deal on this guitar. But he didn't know what he had either because it needed a lot of work. And that's where I come in. When you take something that's in the middle, it was basically a basket case when I got it, and a bunch of unknowns. And you got to start from scratch. You got to start from scratch, literally. You know, he came to me saying, I want you to crown all my frets. Well, why? There's no strings on the guitar. I have no idea what condition this instrument is in. I have to do a setup and do it from headstock to tail to know what it is first and how stable it is and if it's playable, and evaluate everything about the guitar before I go, oh yeah, I'll grind down your frets and charge you $100. Well, no, I can't do that. That's not in my makeup. Now, because we had it stable and because we loosened the strings all the way back down, and they're brand new strings, it's going to take forever to get it tuned back up, and I'm not going to kill you with that. So stand by. I'm going to give it 5 or 10 minutes to stabilize, get it back to stable, make sure that everything is hanging where it is, and it seems to want to keep going way flat. And yeah, it's going to take the strings and the springs have to find equilibrium again, because I left that off, and I did that on purpose because I wanted to make sure everything was right before I went to putting it back in. So stand by. We'll be right back. We're going to check the neck relief again. We're going to check the string height again and finish the setup on this guitar, and then it's ready to go back to the customer. So be right back. Okay, so we're in the home stretch. Everything is stable. Off camera, I let it settle for like 20 minutes or so. It's going to stay overnight. That's just the way I do things. Come on, focus. Yeah, you see why I have to have a new camera, and yeah. Dead on, just absolutely stable. Intonation is set. I leave the locking nut loose for the first couple of weeks until the strings really get a chance to settle. We're perfectly flat on our saddles here, level with the board, or the body, I'm sorry. You can dive and come right back, and it lays right back into tune, and that's important. Beautiful. Yeah, I love that. The last thing we're going to do is check the measurements from the initial setup with the other strings. Now, this should not have changed, and I'm going to bet the farm that it didn't. Perfectly set at 12 thousandths. There's no reason for that to change, unless you went from 9s to 10s. Then it could pull the neck down, or went to a lighter string, it would make the neck want to go up. String height, customer's request was 4 and 3. I'm going to tell you we're probably at 4 and just under 4. 4 on the base side, which is exactly where we're at, and just under 4 on the treble side. And that's perfectly acceptable. That's lower than, you know, most guys play. Yeah, you want low string action. Everybody, you know me, I rant on this. Yeah, why? Because you heard somebody else say that guitar should be at, you know, 4 and 3. That's, in my opinion, it's bullshit. This should be just over 4, close to 5/64, and this should be right at 4. But we're going to give this guitar to this guy and tell him to play it and let it settle for a week or two, and then we're going to tweak it, measure and check things out and see what the feedback is. His complaint was, remember, when I was bending strings up here, we were getting some buzzing. Well, the neck was too straight when I got it. There was no strings on it once I did the setup on it. And he was telling me to go ahead and crown all his frets. Well, crowning frets has nothing to do with the way this guitar is going to play. Does it have some wear on the frets? Yeah, but you can't even measure how much divot there is. So the only way to get those divots out of there is to go ahead and do a complete fret leveling job, and this guitar does not need that. Go to somebody else and they'll tell you, oh yeah, it needs, yeah, okay, level the frets, yeah, no problem here, that'll be $200. Yeah, well, no, I'm not like that. I want this guitar to go live and be happy with the player, and I'm sure it will be. I'm going to put the truss rod cover on, snip those off, but this girl is ready to play. And yeah, she's coming right back into tune. Strings are still stretching a little bit. I like it. I like it a lot. We're going to let it settle overnight and check it in the morning. I'm sure it's ready to play. Let's just give it a twirl at the end of this video and see what she says. All right. I'm sure she's ready to play. Yeah, I like it. I defy him to find a buzzing string anywhere on this guitar. That's just the way I am. Right? Okay, Steve I called. He wants his guitar back. Pretty neat. Pretty neat. This is not my style, but I dig on this little guitar. Blackjack with 396 guitars. Yeah, we always have something different for you guys. Remember, if you dig what I'm doing, like and subscribe, share. By all means, share to your other friends that play, that need guitar work. We're here for you. We'll talk soon.